What's going on, everyone? We're out here with the Andre Haikal. He's the guy that scaled to 100K a month in 90 days with $0 spent on ads. Now, that's just the tip of the iceberg. He's a man of faith. He's a man of morals. He's a man of value. And a lot of people have changed their lives, their entire lives, just due to this guy. Andre, introduce yourself to the audience. I'm really happy to have you here.
That was a very gracious, I feel honored. I feel honored for the introduction you gave,
The least
especially
I can
for
say.
me, bro. I'm glad to know you and have been able to connect with you while I was out in Lebanon around a month or so ago. And yeah, dude, it's been an awesome journey, surrounded by really great people, and we've been able to do some pretty cool things in the agency space, in the coaching space, in the SaaS space, and now with Remotely X in the recruiting space. So learned a lot, have had some cool, accomplishments and milestones, but a lot of cool memories too of just, meeting guys like yourself and connecting in a different way, like through this podcast format.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Amazing. I gotta start with first things first, right? Andre, you're unapologetically Christian. I wanna really expand on how does that shape you, the way you do business, the way you get leads, the way you hire, the way you do things.
Yeah, well, I have to say, like it's not always been that way. Like I grew up Christian, and I went to school every week, or went to church every weekend, and I went to Christian school here in the U.S. And my family is very religious, but that never really stuck with me. It was kind of just like going through the motions, doing what everyone else was doing until I was in, the valleys that you go through in business where you're all alone and you're experiencing failure and
Rock
just
bottom.
extreme struggle of just the rock bottom, right? That's where I really came to faith, like truly, like on my own. And that changed everything for me because like it was my North Star. Like it gave me purpose. It became my why, and it also became my instruction guide as to like how am I supposed to go about doing business? Because I was super overwhelmed. Like I'd learned from so many guys, Gary Vee, Grant Cardone, and Milet, Patrick Bet David, and these are all guys that I still like and respect. But I realized a lot of them were all pulling from like the ultimate source of wisdom, which was the Bible. And once I started going to the Bible and started like nurturing a relationship with Christ, that became my North Star. And that was like a cheat code in business because like I could be very calm and zen and level headed, which was actually what I needed to become because I would eventually go on to hire, hundreds of people and lead teams. And you can't lead anyone if you can't even lead yourself and stay calm in these
Exactly.
situations yourself. And so that was like the biggest unlock for me was just like instead of trying to learn from all these books and all these, like social media influencers, I could just go to the original source that is the Bible and not
It's
even
a
have to
source.
question like, does this work now or is it outdated? It's like this stuff works. And there's a relationship on the other end of that with Christ himself. And dude, I don't know. It just made me realize that the valleys, the peaks, all these sorts of things, it's has very little to do with me. I mean, there was kind of like a calmness to that, like a resting for
Calmness?
just because it's not only up to you,
What do you mean?
right? There's someone in that valley with you, even though it might not be someone on this earth, and there's someone at that peak with you, and that gives you like a sense of calmness and reassurance that as long as you keep doing what you know is right based on these learnings, you'll be okay. And if in okay doesn't always mean like you're gonna have record MRR months, you're gonna sign all the clients, you're gonna reach, wicked success on social media with tons of followers. So it also, rather than me like being so tied to outcomes, the biggest thing it did for me was just be so tied to just doing my best work, the inputs instead of the outputs, and just letting God take care of the out. So like I just felt a sense of peace knowing that if I show up every single day and do my best work in alignment with his teachings, whatever happens is I trust it's in God's hands. It's not in my hands.
Yeah, a
Whatever that
lot
is.
of people think of it in a way. It's like, why would you be like, you hop on hundreds of flights per year? Like, you never really worry about the plane crashing. But what if someone tells you that God is the pilot? Like, he's the one that's driving you. So yeah, I think this is what you mean. But a lot of people, on the other hand, it's not something that I agree with. But a lot of people sometimes say maybe too much faith might collide with business and capitalism in general. Like, well, what do you think about that?
I think there's something that we call common sense carefulness, right? And what I
Common
mean by
sense
this is
carefulness.
common sense carefulness, right? And this is like the biggest blocker to having a relationship with Christ or with God or whoever you believe in. It's the biggest blocker because this is where our faith is tested, right? This is where we really find out what drives decisions and what drives action. Is it fear or is it faith? That we have to get to the root of that first, right? And most times, and even for myself, admittedly, a lot of my decisions are driven out of fear. If you go to the root cause, and my goal and something that I'm constantly working on is how can I operate out of faith? And what I mean by that is like common sense carefulness. Yeah, if I don't send out this invoice today, how is the client going to pay me? Right? I can't just have faith that the client is going to pay me. It still requires me to have common sense to do certain things to get
Exactly.
the client to pay me. So where do you
This
draw
is
the
where
line, right?
yeah, exactly. Exactly. And do you feel like there's a line to be drawn in the first place?
I think absolutely there's a line to be drawn because like God didn't put us here to just not do anything and to let him intervene and do everything for us, right? But I think we have to have that intuition and like in the Christian faith, it's the Holy Spirit, which is like the guide that we have here on this earth to tell us like when we just got to take a step back and let go. Because there's definitely a happy medium. I think one extreme is you just trust that God is going to come into your life and do everything for you, which is not true. But then the other extreme is that you need to brute force things to make them happen, which is also not true. So what is that balance? And I think as you develop more of a relationship with Christ or with God or with the Holy Spirit, and as you start to know the teachings of the Bible or whatever religious book you read, that's how you start to develop this intuition or really like this ability to discern where you're supposed to step in and do the work versus where you're supposed to take a step back and let God come in and do the work.
Exactly. And that's the sweet spot not a lot of people achieve, by the way. And I speak with a lot of people that are even like way older than us and they find it hard. But it really gladdens me to see a fellow brother who found that spot for him. By the way, when you were talking about fear and when you're fear and faith, I remember the quote. He's a guy in the coaching space. I first heard that from him. His name is Vincent Fisher. I don't know if you've heard of him. He says both faith and fear require you to believe in the unseen. So what are
Wow,
you
that's
choosing?
good.
That's
That's good.
when I first heard it, I was mind blown. Like both faith and fear require you to believe in the unseen. So what are you choosing?
What are you choosing
And
to believe in? Yeah.
exactly, exactly. And this is like a conscious decision that I took also a while ago. Andre, I want to dive deeper into like everyone knows you're the hero, you're like the top G of cold emails for real. And I'm not quoting anything that you said. By the way, for anyone watching, Andre is super down to earth. He's a super humble guy, despite all of his achievements. But yeah, a lot of people that's the top G.
Hey, what's up?
Oh, how's it going? You good? I'm good, I'm good. What about you? الحمد لله منيح. مشتاق لك بعدنا هلا من شوي كنا عم نحكي عنك. ايه والله عن جد حبيبي بدنا بس نرجع نشوفكم عن جد بركي بأوغست او شيء.
Hopefully soon.
Yeah.
Karkis.
Yeah.
Hopefully soon. سلم على الكل جيبو.
That's a great
That's
guest appearance for the podcast.
yeah, exactly. I was genuinely shocked, and yeah, that's an amazing coincidence. So I
Yeah.
was telling you, a lot of people, I'm quoting what they say, like you're the top G in emails. Okay, I want to know you're getting a lot of things right, obviously. I want to know what do you feel like most agencies are getting wrong in the email space?
Yeah, I think I've been in the cold email space for I want to say 5 or 6 years at this point, and I'm not the cold email goat. I actually partnered with the cold email wizard, aka Daniel Fazio, who's my business partner and all of the businesses now. And he's who I learned cold email from. And when I learned cold email from him, it was way different than what it is today. And I think the thing most people get wrong in the cold email space is they're so attached to doing cold email the way they learn to do cold email rather than being open to adopting or adapting and changing as the market changes. Funny enough, we have a coaching program called Client Ascension, and we had a guest coaching call with a guy named Dean Graziosi, who is a big influencer in the coaching space. And we talked about this conversation specifically. It's like he's been in business for 30 years. And the amount of change that he's had to go through, like he started in the advertising space when it was infomercials. It was like literally ads on TV trying to sell a product that you had to call a phone number to buy.
Yeah.
And now he's like, industry leading with funnels with Tony Robbins and Matthew McConaughey and some of these guys. And that's all he talked about is like the mistake most business owners make is they're unwilling to change and adapt because they like doing things that they're used to doing and they're comfortable doing. But that's not good enough because that's not what's ultimately going to get your customers the best results. So I think, do a really good job of not being tied to doing things one specific way. We're always open and we're always testing new things. Like we get excited about finding a new way to do something. Just because something's working is not good enough. We don't just, take a step back and get comfortable. Like we're like, how can we make it better? How can we do it differently? Because that's where the competitive edge is. And I think that's why we've had as much success as we've had across, we had a cold email agency. We had a cold email placement offer. We have a cold email coaching program. And now we have a cold email SaaS company that's approaching $10 million in ARR in less than 2 years. And like those are impressive accomplishments because of our willingness to adapt and change and deliver solutions to our customers that are not what we think was good, but what is truly good because they're what's getting results now.
But at the same time, like you see a lot of people tell you that don't touch what's working. And this is a philosophy that I personally have. And it's also something that Hermosi preaches and all of like the big guys out there. Like if it's working, why would you want to change it? So I don't think you followed that philosophy and it has turned out to be really prosperous for you. So what do you think
Yeah,
about
and
that?
it's like you definitely like when something's working, I always say ride it out as long as you can, right? Just squeeze it. But there's nothing that just works forever. I think we both know like being in the agency space and doing cold email, like if you just did the same thing that you were doing 6 years ago, dude, 90% of that stuff now you can do with AI, right? Like imagine, dude, I'll give you context. When we started doing cold email, it worked extremely well, but we would set up one inbox and we'd send 50 emails a day. And every single email we sent would have a manually personalized first line. And that manually written line was written by a team in either Pakistan or Nigeria or one of these
Yeah,
third world countries. Dude, if I did that today, I'd be so far behind sending 50 emails a day and having a team outsourced to third world countries writing these personalizations. No, I could send 5,000 of those messages a day by having an AI bot write the personalizations in less than a minute, just as good as a team
exactly.
would. And I'd be able to have multiple inboxes. So I'm protecting my deliverability. So it's just common sense. And both can be true. Like it worked the way we were doing it back then, but that's not what works now and we squeezed it. Like it's not like as soon as that was working, we're like, all right, it's not going to work for much longer. What can we do next? But that's always in the back of my mind. And I think that's just how I'm wired. I'm like an innovator. I'm always just looking for like, how can we improve? How can we do things better? That's what excites me. And I think naturally too, that's what's kept us, at the top of the industry.
Speaking of AI, what do you feel like is coming up next? You just told me about a lot of things that AI is doing right now, but what do you feel like would be next in this space?
So at least from my POV, like AI is super advanced. But AI has a lot of area for improvement. Like it's not the most reliable to just fully let off and have AI run your business. I think there's like an extreme that you see in the market of like AI, like replace your team with AI or like hire AI workers that do 24/7 work. I don't believe in that. Like, and I know we're not
Huh.
currently there. I don't because find me a company that's solely driven by only AI bots and not humans. Like I think humans will always play a role, and I think the competitive advantage is actually doubling down on humans, right? But the way we use AI is to empower those humans. So the examples that I just gave you for cold email, I think the way that we should use AI is in a smart approach, looking at where are the current bottlenecks and where can AI play a role rather than let's go for like the sexiest headline, which is like outsource everything you do to an AI bot. Because that's where the market's going. Everyone's like, dude, you don't have to start your own business. You don't have to run your business. You don't have to hire people. AI will do it all for you.
Exactly.
We all know that's not true. I've not found one person that's started a business from scratch solely using AI and is successful. Like that doesn't exist. And if they did, they probably obsessed over it for months and months and months. And who knows how far that goes? Like how far does that go before it falters or isn't successful anymore? Because short-term success doesn't mean anything to me. I've been in this industry for a long time. I've seen guys that will enter the space, have 2 or 3 good months, and then completely disappear. I see like my biggest success is the fact that we've been able to stay at the top of the industry for 5+ years. Like there's a reason why we've been able to be so consistent and we've not, gone anywhere. Like this
And
isn't a
what do you
short
feel
term.
like is the single most important differentiator between you and all the other people that tried and attempted and
Yeah.
even entering the space?
It's not me, it's my team. I'm super, super blessed to be partnered with the best co-founders, including Daniel or Cold Email Wizard, my cousin Dan, who runs sales, and my best friend from college, Christian, who does marketing and ads, and then Oliver, who's our CTO and does the tech behind everything. So like when you look at me and my business success, it's not me and my business success. It's me and my team's business success. There's a giant team behind everything that we do. And we always say like, dude, it's common sense. If I'm partnered with like the best marketer in the world, the best salesperson in the world, the best CTO in the world, that means I can do what I do best, which is lead manage, hire people, do operations, that sort of stuff. And it also means that they can do what they do best, which is marketing or advertising or building a sales team or developing a product. So when you have a group of 5 really high caliber entrepreneurs, all being able to focus and do exactly what they're best at doing every single day, how much further ahead does that team get? Or how much harder is that team to compete with against a solopreneur that's trying to do everything mediocrely?
Exactly. I think of it as a line of like Avengers or superheroes. Like everyone has this superpower, and like, how the fuck are you gonna beat this team? Okay,
Yeah.
on your
No, I
own, on
know.
your laptop. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, you cannot really. But like,
Wait.
Andrew Tate says it as well. You're competing against teams fundamentally, so you cannot
Yeah.
really. All of this lone wolf strategy is really outdated and it doesn't really work. Andre, I want you to go in the technical mode, okay, in the tactical mode. I'm sorry. What's the most headline that got you like the craziest results in the past half decade?
Ooh, so I have to be really honest. Like, I don't
Let me
really
guess.
run
Quick question.
for cold email. Like, dude, we've been doing so I say like you have to innovate, you have to adapt, you have to change and update the way you do things. But like, yeah, for cold email straight up, like the subject line that's worked the best for us since day one is quick question.
By the way,
It's
I was
really,
just kidding. I
really
didn't figure that that would be it.
no, it's really insane. Another really good one though that like probably the best performing one now is like my name, so like Andre X Jimmy dash intro. And it, for whatever reason, that just comes off as more of like a like someone is introducing you to someone. So like it would literally be like Andre X Jimmy and then dash like a
Yeah,
line
yeah.
and then
Hyphen.
intro. And it just comes off as like this is just an introduction email. Like let's see who this Jimmy guy is and what does he want. And it's much less invasive than want to grow your sales by 30% question mark
Exactly.
or
It acts like a
just trying
pattern
to write an
interrupt.
ad headline in your email.
Exactly. Because how many times do you get an intro email per day? Rarely, if ever. Maybe once a week or once a month. So once you get it, it acts like a pattern interrupt. I guess this is what you're trying to tell me, right? This is
Yeah,
why it
it,
works.
it just it's because you have to find the balance with a subject line of you don't want to be misleading. Like you don't want them to think like this is something that it's not. But at the same time, like you don't want to blatantly make it salesy either. Because that doesn't work. So like how can you make it like pretty chill? And like how can you build curiosity to get them to just open it? That's why quick question works really well because it doesn't give away too much. And that's why the intro works well because it's like who's not open to getting, a quick introduction to someone that they haven't met yet. Like you're at least going to see like who's this Jimmy guy rather than
Exactly.
what do they have like what are they trying to sell me. It's more so
Yeah.
why am I getting introduced to Jimmy.
What about like the email itself when it comes to structure?
The structure of the email, it's first name. We've seen especially recently that the personalization really does have an impact, so just having a very quick personalized first line relating to like their role or the industry. Like, hey, I noticed you're in the creative industry for e-commerce brands, and I really like the most recent work you did for X, Y, and Z company. That's like, okay, you did your research. It's relevant to business. It's not like, hey, I saw you went to the American University of Beirut. Like,
Yeah.
that's so cool. It has nothing to do with the context of
Exactly.
the email. So a lot of times people personalize just to personalize. Like you should personalize for a reason. Like it should fit into the context of the email. And then the email itself is just it's usually just like a simple one question of like a no-brainer offer. Hey, was just curious, would you be interested in having me A/B test against your current content or email marketing strategy? And I'll guarantee, a 30% lift in conversions. If you're interested, I'll send you a quick Loom video explaining the strategy specifically for your business. So it's personalized. The offer is really quick and to the point, and it's no brainer. And rather than asking them to buy the offer, you just ask them if they're interested in seeing a video specifically made for them that explains the offer in full. So you're basically lowering the barrier to them saying yes. They're just saying yes to you going to put together like a valuable asset for them, whether or not they ever talk back to you again.
What about CTO?
safe for them to say yes to you.
What about CTAs? Do you feel like it would make a difference if you could say, hey, drop a yes if you're interested, or like, would you be available this Thursday, 3 p.m.? Like, do you feel like this would make any difference?
So again, it's like there's like a hierarchy, right? So like
Yeah.
asking them for them to buy is like the highest friction.
Hmm.
Asking them for their time on a call, second highest level of friction. Asking them if they're open to seeing a Loom video tailored to their business, which is really just a sales pitch, is the third least barrier to resistance. So you can definitely start with a call. And then if they say no, you can pitch the Loom video. We've just seen that the Loom video works so well because we would naturally send a similar Loom video to them anyways if they booked a call because it primed them and nurture them for what to expect on the call. But like you could also take, if you read the book Influence by Robert Cialdini, he talks about like the second offer where it's like you go and you ask someone something that you know is most likely out of reach. They say no, and you know they're going to say no. So that when you ask again for something less, they're more inclined to say yes because they feel bad saying no twice.
Yeah,
So
it's
if
an
you ask
anchor.
for the call knowing they're going to say no, great. You now pitch them the Loom video knowing that they're more likely to say yes because they feel bad about saying no twice. So
But
you
here's
can
the
test that
thing.
out
What
yourself.
if they just say no in their head, and they just never reply? A lot of
That's
people
the
ask
risk
that
you
question.
take. It's the risk you take, and that's where follow-ups come in handy. So if you see that they haven't responded to your email about a call and you send, one or two additional follow-ups about the call, that's where you should switch the pitch to a Loom video. And this is where people I think mess up with cold email too. It's like they don't realize that 95% of the people you email don't respond. What do you do with the other 95%? A
Exactly.
lot of people just trash those leads. We continue to remarket to those leads until we find something, an offer or a CTA or some personalization that strikes the chord to get them to respond.
Gotcha. Amazing value you're dropping, man. And it surprises me, but at the same time, like, because I'm in the space, I know, as simple as it is, as valuable as it is at the same time. And a lot of people
That's it.
get that wrong in the space. When it comes to ListKit, you mentioned earlier 10 million in ARR, or you're approaching that number. How the hell did you do that? I want to know.
Yeah, I mean, dude, we have again a great team of co-founders. We had 2 years of market research
Yeah, but
before.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, man, but like that's what would you tell Forbes in an interview? But I'm not Forbes. I want to hear like the real trenches. Tell me about it.
Yeah, bro. I mean, look, so the way we built that company was we started as a productized service. So, like for 2 years before ListKit was a SaaS, we were a productized service, meaning we wanted to test this idea that if we just sold leads, would people buy them, right? And they did. And when they bought the leads, it'd send us a notification, and our team in these third world countries would build the leads list. And then in 24 hours, within 24 hours, we deliver the leads list. So it was manual, right? So we knew that if people were willing to pay for just leads at this price and they could wait 24 hours to get them, we should build a software where they could do this self-serve. So we already proved that this was a software that people would be interested in. And
And
we
when you
already
first started it,
had, what's
I'm
that?
sorry, when you first started ListKit, did you know that it was gonna become a SaaS?
Yes, because we used similar SaaS tools like Apollo and Zoom Info.
Mm.
But the problem with Apollo is it's like not the best quality because you get a list from Apollo and 60% of them are valid. The other 40% you have to throw away. And then the problem with Zoom Info, I can't speak to the data quality. I'm sure it's really good, but it's so expensive that the people that we're working with, including ourselves, couldn't afford it anyways. So there's no middle ground. So we wanted to become the middle ground, but we didn't know if that was enough of a reason for our software solution to stand out. Turns out it was. And when we proved that it was, we also had a list of customers that are already paid us for the self-productized service that would now support the self-serve SaaS product. So right away, like when you say we hit 100K a month within 3 months, it wasn't that impressive because we had a list of people that had been buying from us for so long. We just put an offer in front of them that was ready and already tested, and it was just obvious they all said yes to it and wanted to support. That's the real like trenches behind it. Uh,
Exactly. That's the first time I hear it, by the way. You got me shocked.
yeah,
I didn't know that.
yeah.
I don't
So
know
that
there
was
was
it.
that backstory.
That was the
Gotcha, gotcha.
backstory. And then, I mean, going from 100K, so that's 1 million ARR. Going from 1 million to 10 million ARR is really just building out more channels to get customers because SaaS is not like an agency where you just get a handful of customers every day or every month. You have to get hundreds of customers a month. So how do you do that? Well, we do a lot through cold email. We did it through word of mouth. We did it through growing YouTube channels and doing organic content through Twitter, YouTube, and LinkedIn. And then we really started to crack the code on paid ads. We're spending $250,000 a month on Facebook ads to grow Listgate.
And
$250,000 a month. Like literally every 4 months, we spend $1 million on Facebook ads, right? And we have a massive sales team and we have a massive customer success and fulfillment team to actually support this business that's coming in at that.
gotcha. And if you don't mind me asking, are you the type of guy that like runs the ads and you break even at first and then you make like on the upside, you then make all the money and the profit? Is that what you do?
Yes, but not even to that extent, because that's like the agency play for a SaaS. Our goal as a SaaS company is to increase enterprise value. So our ultimate goal is the more recurring revenue we can stack, the more valuable the company is. Because to be honest, for SaaS companies, like the last thing you really check is profit, because you're not in it for profit. You're in it for a big exit, right? And so for us, like we actually spend more money up front to acquire a customer and we don't make the cost per acquisition back for like 3 to 4 months. And we're completely okay with that
For
because
sure,
we don't
like
need the
that's the game
profit.
you're playing.
That's the game. And so we can outcompete everyone else in the market because they're all agencies. And if they're not making, their 40 to 50% profit margin every month, they're pissing their pants. So like, who's going to outspend them on Facebook ads? Us all day long, happily, because that's
Exactly. And scale, how much time did it take you to scale to 10 million ARR?
So we started the company in July 2023.
No
So it'll
way.
be 1 month from now, it'll be 2 years. We're not
Happy
at 10 million, by
happy
the
early
way.
anniversary.
No, thank you, bro. We're not at 10 million yet. We're at almost 8, but we project to be at 10 million by the end of the year.
Yeah,
So
for
just
sure.
over 2 years.
But the thing is, like, scaling that fast in less than 2 years, something must have broken in your systems. What
Oh my
was it?
God, every day, bro.
Ah, every day. Okay, tell me about it.
Oh my God.
What's like
Dude,
the biggest headache you did not expect that you had to
bro,
deal
it's
with?
more money, more problems, right? Like that there's so much truth to that saying. It's like to grow, like it's natural when you grow, and you'll see this if you talk to the biggest businesses in the world, bro. Like there's so many problems with these businesses, but like those are problems that I would fixate on. Of like I'm a perfectionist, and that I think is actually the thing that limited me from having success earlier on. Is like I wanted everything in the business to be perfect, and if you operate with that mindset, you're not going to get very far. Things will break and then you will just have to fix them. But like you have a team that's growing, the more humans you have, the more problems you're going to run into because humans are naturally lazy, including myself. We're naturally emotional and there's outside influences like relationships and family life and mental health and physical health that have an influence on how you show up in your work. There's things that happen. So like as you start to multiply this with more salespeople, more customer success reps, more ad spend, you're just increasing the areas where things can break and go wrong and you need to fix.
Exactly.
But you can't let that slow you down. Like that's a fear that I had to overcome early on that allowed me to get to this next level is be okay with things not being absolutely perfect.
And by the way, for everyone who's watching this, that sentence that Andre just said, it's coming out from a perfectionist. So it must have been like, I can only imagine how hard it would be to accept this as a reality. Andre, shifting to client ascension, you hear a lot of fluff in the space, especially when it comes to coaching. Like, why do you think client ascension really hit hard in the market?
Bro, because I don't think coaching businesses are real businesses, period. Like a coaching business is not a real business. It's a joke of a business. And I run a coaching program because to be honest, running a coaching
Ironically,
program is like it's so easy, bro. It's easy. It's like business on easy mode. It's not a real business because the profit margins are insane. Most of the time it's a solopreneur with a VA here and there. There's no consistent marketing and sales processes. It's all organic. Like it's not an actual business. You put that same business owner or coach into a SaaS company or into an agency, they're going to fail. That's why most of these coaches that teach how to scale an agency, they don't even have their own agency. And not to call out Eamon Godzi,
about it.
he's a legend in the space, but he doesn't run an agency. He said he shut down his agency, but why would any smart business owner shut down a business that's doing well? So what does it tell you? His agency was not doing well, so he shut it down. So are you going to go and learn from someone that had an agency that failed versus someone that has an agency that's successful? That's why I think client ascension is relevant and has always been relevant is because it's not even a business to us. It's a passion project. We're out there running a SaaS company from 0 to 10 million in ARR. We're running this recruiting agency in Lebanon, Remotely X. We scaled that to 100K, right, with business partners in Lebanon. Like, these are real agencies and businesses that have departments, that have leaders, that have team members, that have like an actual P&L, that have systems and processes. It's not just selling knowledge, it's an actual product or service. And so because we have the experience doing that, we can come back into Client Ascension and share with other guys. Because in Client Ascension, we're not teaching people that run a coaching program. So if we only had knowledge on how to run a coaching program, we can't help these guys. But we
Exactly.
can help them because we have real experience doing what we're, helping them to do.
Exactly. So you're basically what you're saying. So client essential work because you're teaching what you've already practiced and what you've already done yourself.
And continue to do. Because again,
Exactly.
if I just ran an agency up to 100K a month and said, okay, I'm qualified, let me go coach now, that only lasts a couple of months because what we talked about earlier, this game is always changing, it's always evolving. So if I don't have the context as to how does AI change the way I run my agency because I no longer have an agency, I'm not of any help to my community as a coach because I have a blind spot now. And so this is why it's so important for us is like to continue to invest a majority of our time into running real businesses so that we can come back into the coaching program with real insights that are working now.
Gotcha, man. Look, we're gonna play a quick game, and it's a true or false game. Ready?
Go for it, bro.
So, cold email is dying in the next 5 years. True or false?
False, bro. They told us that 5 years ago.
Yeah, I'm still standing. Most agency owners are just freelancers with assistants. True or false?
Sure.
Okay.
100%.
Most coaches in the online
And
space are
real quick, bro, the agencies that are really freelancers, they're the ones that'll tell you that. Like, you don't need me to tell you that. They'll tell you that. And that's why programs like Client Ascension exist. It's like the main reason why people join that program is because they want to become a legitimate business. That's like the main thing I hear from students in the program. And that's where we were at too. So there's no shame in it. It's just admit that's where you're currently at and get the help you need.
Gotcha. Yeah, 100%. So, with the fourth or third statement, most coaches in the online space are full of shit. True or false?
True. And I think that's a little bit of an extreme. I'd word it a little nicer. Is what I was saying before. It's just most coaches in the space are unqualified to coach, is really the way I would phrase it, because they don't have real up-to-date business experience outside of the coaching business to help their students. And again, if we then take the fact that a coaching business is not a real business, then who are they to coach people on business?
Exactly. And lastly, and I think that's a special statement. And you're gonna know why all on your own. So the last statement is having a partner, like a life partner, while growing your businesses might slow you down. True or false?
False, bro. I got engaged.
Yeah. That's the story I want to hear.
Yeah, I got engaged 7 months ago, I want to say. Yeah, in December
Don't forget your
2020.
anniversary, Andre.
Yeah. So I got engaged in December last year. We were dating for a year before that. So it's been like a year and a half. And then we're getting married in August in 3 months. So I've been with her for 2 years in a serious relationship that since the very beginning, we were clear about what we wanted. We were very intentional. And that's why we got engaged within a year and are getting married in less than a year after that. Yeah, I had the same limiting belief everyone else had, that like, dude, I don't have time for a significant other. I'm locked in and focused on the business until I figure this part out. Then, I'll start looking. But dude, like having a significant, like having the right partner, life partner is such an unlock, bro. In so many ways.
Right, in your opinion?
You'll know when it's right because it will invalidate this limiting belief that you can't have both. Right. So like that was my limiting belief. And I had past relationships where that was true. You'll go and you'll be ambitious and you'll do work and they'll make you feel guilty for it. They won't support it. They'll get jealous. They'll try to be competitive with you. Right. That's wrong. But if you have someone that's right, they love you in a way that is supportive of your vision, of supportive of your ambition. They give you energy rather than take it away. Right. They fuel your growth rather than limit it. And that's what I think right means, is like someone that you actually feel is helping you achieve your goals rather than preventing you from achieving your goals. And I think we can all relate to that. And that's probably why a lot of us are scarred from like, yeah, we can't have a life partner because they're going to distract us. They're going to take time away from the business. They might get jealous if we're spending time in the business and not with them and all these things. But the right life partner will be supportive. And they'll also teach you really important lessons on relationships, which as you grow your business, there's no more important skill set than relationship building, like in leadership. And like there's lessons that I learned in my life partner relationship that I bring into the business all the time, right? That has just made me a
Can you give
better
me one
leader.
example that pops in your mind?
Yep.
Can you give me one example that pops in your mind about lessons that you've learned from your life partner that you apply in business?
Not and maybe not life lessons that she's taught me blatantly, but just going through life with her, it's a relationship, right? So in a relationship, there's really common things that you'll learn, like you have to sort out your differences, or when there's something on your mind, it's better to say it now than to let it fester, have resentment build, and then it turn into a big argument. Right. So, like, same thing with your team. If you see someone on your team that's underperforming, yeah, it might be uncomfortable to have that conversation, but the longer you delay that conversation, the more of an issue it becomes later on. It's like a ticking time bomb. So you learn to have those conversations in a loving way with your life partner, and you can bring that into your work environment. So that's like the biggest example is like relationships, dude. Like, and then how do you nurture your relationship with your life partner, right? It's sacrifice, right? You're there when she needs you most. You do things that maybe are not something you want to do, but you know she'll enjoy, and vice versa. So it's it's giving and taking, and that also translates to managing a team. Like you should serve your team the same way you serve in your life partnership because your team is working for you. Or sorry, you're working for your team, not the other way
Yeah,
around.
yeah,
And I think a lot of people
exactly.
get that mixed up, and that's why they have shitty teams that are unmotivated and don't care enough to work for you because why would they?
Exactly, exactly. They lack incentive. And that's very important. Andre, I want you to visualize something. Okay. How old are you, by the way?
25.
Awesome. Andre, you're 25 now. You're leading teams, you're scaling businesses, you've done a lot of amazing stuff. Okay. You just hit a milestone. You went out to celebrate the drinks, family, friends, and everything. And you're going back, you're walking to your car, and you stumble across Andre at 15. What would you tell him?
That's beautiful, bro. That vision is so clear in my head because I've thought about this stuff before. If I stumble across Andre at 15, I would tell him that one, it's going to work out. So calm down because at 15 I was already an entrepreneur and I was already fixated on here's actually another really good lesson, right? Ever since I was 13, 14, 15, whenever I started entrepreneurship, all the way up until I got into this serious relationship and I'm now marrying this girl. My entire identity was rooted in I'm an entrepreneur. That was my entire identity. Is like I'm a businessman, I'm an entrepreneur. That's where I get all of my self-worth from. When I started to build a relationship with God, that started to dilute and I got more of my value from being a child of God and not just a business owner. And then when I have this relationship with my fiance, soon to be wife, it diluted even more. So now it's like I'm a child of God. I'm with my fiance and soon to be wife, and then I'm a business owner and entrepreneur. So like at 15, what I thought was like the only thing that defined me and gave me value is now like the third most important. It's not even that important.
Oof.
And so I
Okay.
tell myself that like, dude, it's not that important, bro. But I also wouldn't tell him to do anything different because that's what ultimately led me here. I would just tell him to like, hey, know that it's going to work out and yeah, like just get excited for what's coming because dude, like I wouldn't change a thing about my journey from 15 to that big milestone because that's what got me to that milestone. I just think the words of wisdom is like the reassurance that it's going to work out.
Do you feel
And
like you needed that at 15?
maybe not as much as others because I had the support system of my dad, who you saw on the podcast for a second
Amazing
there.
guy. Yeah.
He's a successful entrepreneur. He's my number one influence, and he was always in my ear about like pushing through the valleys. And my grandfather as well, successful entrepreneur. And so I had the support system that was really beautiful. But like, yeah, I think I still need to hear that, dude, even now, right? Like,
Yeah.
in every business owner, it helps to hear that no matter what, because we're all going through things. And even as you grow, right? Because the standards that I have today are nowhere near what they were back then, right? I'm sitting in my parents' home, and this is where I started my entrepreneurship career at 13, 14, 15 years old. Dude, like the things that I'm doing now, I could have never dreamed of doing back then. And now I'm like again operating out of a place of fear of like I have all these people that rely on me that I'm responsible for. We have, a huge payroll that we have to make every single month. We're spending $250,000 a month on ads that we can't get back if it doesn't work out. the more money, more problems, right? So like this amplifies. So I even need to hear it now. But I get that a lot from, again, like my relationship with God, which plays such a big role in even my relationship with my fiance. So yeah, I think it never hurts to hear that, even after
Exactly.
you're celebrating that milestone.
Well, something you can do after we're done, because we are concluding the podcast right now. You can walk across this door just behind you, and you're going to stumble across Andre at 35. He's going to tell you it's going to be okay. I can assure that, bro. Andre, lots of value. We've tapped into a lot of really good stuff: life, faith, relationships, scaling, cold emails, coaching, everything in the space. And it was truly a pleasure. Any last words
Likewise,
for the
Jimmy.
audience?
Likewise, Jimmy. Dude, if you're listening into this, keep listening, because Jimmy is awesome. Like I said, I got the pleasure to meet him in Lebanon not too long ago, and was just super impressed by his maturity. Like, and even this podcast is a further reassurance, like amazing, in-depth, spiritual, thought-provoking questions. And so I'm excited to go and listen to some of the other episodes you've done, because even just you prompting these questions have really opened up a lot of thoughts in my mind that I'm going to be able to take home after this and work on. So you're a blessing, bro, to me and
Truly
everyone listening.
appreciate you, bro.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate you. Peace.
Thanks, bro. That was beautiful, man.